It is Tyler, Mom's Basement MMA. I have made it to almost 80 episodes without getting canceled, and I'm really excited about that. And I'm really excited about my next guest, Lord Derik Overstreet. Derik, how are you doing on this lovely January afternoon?
Doing all right. I appreciate you having me on.
I appreciate you wearing that hat on my show. It is freaking cool. I need to get one of those. How are you doing in the great state of Kentucky? I know that's where you live. How have things been going for you in the fall and in the winter since you last fought earlier this summer?
I mean, it's been the world's been trying to kill us. Like it's snowing right now. There was a tornado yesterday, and then I think 2 weeks ago. So Kentucky's getting the hell beat out of it right now. But all things considered, I still have power and food and everything else, and everybody's safe.
That's what's most important, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. I know that you were involved in a few things in your community, trying as everyone's trying to get back up on their feet. I know that for a period of time, you were donating proceeds that you were getting to help contribute to your community from the rebuild. Can you talk a little bit about, for those who may not know, can you talk a little bit about just how severe and how difficult things were when that natural disaster hit your area?
Um, so there's a section, the bypass right off of downtown that there's it was closed down for probably 2 weeks. There's full on buildings that are just gone, just not there anymore. Um, a lot of people lost their businesses, their houses. I know people that lost everything. There's people whose power is just now coming back on. So it's a difficult time right now, especially with being midwinter. And there's a lot of people affected, not just here, just people that died 30 minutes from my hometown. I'm from Paducah, but Mayfield got hit, and I think it was over 100 people died. So
That's terrible.
there's a lot of stuff going on in Kentucky right now where people need help. And one of the reassuring things about all the stuff is that it seems like everybody wants to help. And Bowling Green has only come together and gotten tighter as a community from everything that I've seen with this. And everybody's raised money for businesses affected. Even one of my sponsors, K Buenos, is a sponsor, and that building is gone. That building's not there anymore. So anything that I can do to try to help people out, be that donating food or time, or I'm going to donate a portion of this fight purse to the efforts. I'm going to try to get a shirt made through one of my other sponsors, MMA T-shirt company, to raise money to donate. But anything that I can do, because who would I be if people have helped me to get where I am in my career? Like I wouldn't be able to do any of the stuff if I didn't have outside help. And there's people that need help now, and I would just be a bit of a piece of shit if I didn't help them.
I think that's great. I think that's important. And please let me know when you drop that new tee. I'd be more than happy to rock one, and it would make me feel good knowing that I helped out people in your area. I'm all about that. And for everybody else who's watching this show, if you're watching this several months into the future, hello. But the link for Derik's shirt, whenever that shows up, that'll be in the description of this video. So please support him in helping his community get back up on their feet. It's going to take a long time for people to fully recover from that. Like we're talking years. Your contribution to that effort can go a long way. Derik, I wanted to shift on a slightly different note, and I want to talk about you specifically. You are a really interesting guy. You are a former defensive end at for a Division One school, Western Kentucky. Are a frontman in a hardcore band, and you are a professional mixed martial artist. But I really kind of wanted to hit on your football career slightly. It's not every day you meet like a guy that played like Division One football and started and played at the caliber that you did. You walk away after 4 years of that. You walk away, and I want to and pursue your career in mixed martial arts. And Derik, I wanted to ask you a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about the psychological shift that you had to undertake to go through this journey? You play in a team sport at a very high level with all eyes on you, and I know there's stressors involved in that, but now you're doing it something that, in my opinion, is way more challenging from a psychological perspective. Can you talk a little bit about that?
There's so much other stuff you have to worry about in terms of football with all the other people on the field and the multiple officials and all the plays you have to memorize and everything else. But in that, you're so tight in your own little niche, like your job, that you're not particularly worried about everything else. But there's so many moving parts that all affect you to where even if you could have, I could have an amazing game, or somebody could have an amazing game, like a perfect game all around, and still lose. That's part of being a team, but there's something in that that I just hated. I just don't. There's that. There's you might get hurt off of somebody just randomly rolling into the back of your knees, and there's nothing you could do to prevent that. As to where in any combat sport, it's your fault. It is on you. And I get beat up or lose in here, I can take that because I did it to myself.
Sure.
My coaches and my teammates helped me get as prepared as they could have, but when you're out there, it's you. That's your fault. Something in my personality pushes me towards that. It was more difficult for me to deal with team losses because again, there's so many moving parts. You can't blame me by at least with this. I know I'm responsible and I can go change stuff and get better in it on myself to make sure it doesn't happen in the future. So that's the biggest transition is that these are two obviously violent sports I'm jumping from, but one is so much more. It's more stressful. It's all about your own personal decisions that you make. I just lean heavily towards that, both physically, philosophically. Everything about that makes it more attractive to me.
There's something to be said about football in general, and just one thing that I think is kind of interesting. If you're a casual fan of the sport, there's probably only going to be, five guys that are all offensive players that you would recognize out on the street. Like, oh, that's Tom Brady, or oh, that's I don't know any players, but
I don't know anybody.
Yeah. But you know what I'm trying to say. Like, there's like four or five guys that you would recognize. Like, oh yeah, I know this guy. But like for the most part, if you're like the kicker, the punter, the long snapper, the backup linebacker, like you take off your helmet, you take off your pads, you get into like regular clothes, like jeans and a hoodie, and walk around. Only a minute fraction of people are going to know who you are. Fighting's not like that. There's no helmet to hide behind. There's no pads. There's no visor. Like, you're out there front and center, and there are no teammates out there with you. There aren't 10 other guys out there. It's just you and two other men in a ring. One guy's there to make sure that nobody dies, if he's doing his job, presumably. And then, obviously, your opponent. And when you were getting ready to make your first walk as an ammy for the very first time, can you talk, Derik, a little bit about, like, mentally, did you have to, like, prepare for something like that? Because I know you're used to playing college football at a high level. I know there's pressure. I know there's stress involved when you hit the field with your teammates. But I can't imagine when you're ready to make that walk for the very first time and it's just you out there, that has to be way more intense. Even if you are fighting in front of, let's just say, 500 people, that to me would be way more intense.
Yeah, the first time, I think it's because it's something so foreign to you that the nerves will get you. And a lot of the walkout and everything else is literally just managing yourself and stay calm, stay calm, stay calm. And then it's different for me with the all the other athletic experience because I guess I just desensitized over the 4 years at WKU to big stages and everything, and that I don't really comprehend everybody's eyes being on me like how you just said. I don't really ever think about that, but I know for a lot of people that's a major part of that stuff. Even just managing how you walk out and your breathing and everything in that moment, because people get overwhelmed there and they lose the fight immediately. So it's
absolutely,
it's different.
One of the things I picked up on you, Derik, is you're an intimidating guy. And what I mean by that is, like, if like in another lifetime, if I had to fight you, and I'm in a cage and I'm looking against you, you'd probably be the most terrifying person I think I've ever seen. The reason why I say that is because I can't read you. I don't know if you're scared. I don't know what's going through your mind. You look in the cage before you're getting ready to fight somebody exactly how you do right now. Like I can't read you. You're very calm. You're very stoic. I think that's probably the best word to use. I just find that very unique because like a lot of guys when they get in the cage and they're getting ready to you know, go at it, there's almost like this caricature that comes out, right? Like the chest pounding, the yelling, the hooting and hollering, and whatever they need to do to kind of get in the zone. And you're just kind of like you're like really relaxed, you're calm, like your hands are on your hips, you're just kind of like chilling, and that's got to really mess with people. Is that something? Is that just your personality, or do you like take it like a step further? Like, no, I'm gonna be like, I'm not gonna let him read me. Like, do you do that intentionally, or is this just your personality?
That's been my general disposition for the majority of my athletic career for one reason or another. That's my that's me in everyday life for real. I don't really show that much in terms of emotions or anything. I don't talk that much. So who the hell would I be to come out there and act like some clown and be screaming and hitting or dancing or hitting myself or something? That shit. And if that's you, that's you. But that ain't me. I'm gonna be authentic to myself on that stuff. Feel the need to go out there and talk or hype myself up because I'm like, we already know what's gonna happen. Like we're about to fight in 30 seconds probably. What do I need to slap my chest or punch the cage or something for? It's everybody understands what's about to happen, and I prepared, you prepared. Whoever's gonna win is gonna win. I don't really care past that point, but we're gonna fight, so we're just gonna fight.
Do the theatrics of fighting and promoting fights annoy you?
Yeah, it's annoying as hell. I think it's fake as shit. Like if you want to go into acting, go into acting. I want to fight people. Like
Mm-hmm.
and you can be true to yourself and promote stuff in your own authentic way, but I feel like there's a lot of just bullshit, just clownery. I think a lot of people put on facades that aren't actually them. I've seen it over and over again. You get people talking any amount of shit online,
Mm-hmm.
and then they see you in person. It's just, and I
It's
don't.
completely different.
Yeah, it's completely different. I
Right.
resent that. Everything about that bothers me because I feel like I try to present the same person everywhere. So when somebody's completely unauthentic to their own behavior and they don't show any good faith and not in their action or anything, I can't. It bothers me, and I think that's a lot of people in MMA.
So for you, it's like if like be the guy that you are behind the keyboard, basically.
Yeah,
Got
I
it.
want to see the exact same person. If you're gonna be an asshole online, you better be that to my face, or I don't respect you. At
Got
least
it.
if you're gonna be attacking and just antagonistic online, and you do it in person, so I'm like, oh well, at least he wasn't lying about himself. But I've
Mm-hmm.
seen over and over and over again, everybody has big courage when they're away from, even if it's not in my fight, even if it's backstage, and then you'll see just a complete shift in personality between what they're saying and what they do in the actual cage. And I don't get on well with that. Any type of acting, I don't get on well with. This is literally, other than like Lethway or I think it's about it. It's probably the realest you can get to like straight up trying to kill somebody or like straight on like one caveman type combat. So I don't. What are you gonna fake for?
I'm going to go ahead and make a presumption that me obviously not being a fighter, I'll leave it to you to validate my opinion or disprove it. I'm going to go ahead and suggest that these theatrics, these caricatures, are a result. It's psychology. It's trying to pump up your own like self worth and your own ego for a lot of different reasons. I think some of it, yes, has to do with promoting a fight, but I would imagine it's also like, holy shit, this I'm gonna get locked in a cage with a monster, and I have to hype myself up.
I have to make myself into a monster too.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to make it,
That's
I have to
yeah,
present as something that I'm actually not and believe that, or I won't be able to cope with what's about to happen. Like
yes,
I think that's the root of what a lot of people do. They have to make something outside of themselves because like they might be a nice person outside of this stuff, but they present as an asshole so where they can hit somebody or do bad stuff to somebody. So that's understandable, but like there's no need to be disrespectful about it. There's no need to be just real flagrant and fake about anything.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a plastic facade about fighting, and one of the reasons why I'm such a big fan of PFL is because of all of that. The plastic facade. In the PFL, that doesn't exist. Like, it's all based, like, your fights are based on merit. It's based on outcome. If you won your fight, this is who you're fighting next. Like, we already know it's tourney style. It's all bracketed. So all that drama goes away. Like, you don't have to like call out anybody. It's all like,
You
you
already
don't
know
have
you're
to
gonna
be a
win.
name. You don't have to promote anything. It's like, did you win? If
Exactly.
yes, advance. Did you lose? Okay, then this is who you're gonna fight. Like, it's laid out there. There's no guesswork involved. So a lot of that fighting theater that we see in the other promotions, you don't see in the PFL. And I think it takes away a lot of the politics and a lot of the disingenuous part of fighting that I dislike. It all of that's gone, really. Yeah, there's still people that talk a little bit of shit, but I think that is ebbed quite a bit in the PFL compared to some other places.
I'd say so, especially with everything being merit based, like you said. It's a like why, fake? You don't have to. You know you're gonna get $1 million if you win anyway. Why talk shit about somebody's family for no reason? That's just not really necessary.
Right. Whereas, like, if you're somebody that is in the UFC and you may not put on the most exciting fights, you may need to.
You don't have a choice.
Right. You may
If
have
you're
to
not gonna
become a
make any
villain.
money, you're not gonna make much money or last that long if you're boring and not selling tickets in some kind of way at that on that promotion.
Right. So if you can't sell them in the ring based off of what you do as a mixed martial artist, you gotta be crazy. You gotta talk a bunch of shit. You have to be this larger than life personality. Um, that's how you survive. That's how you stay relevant in the fight game. And speaking of the fight game, I want to shift back. I want to talk a little bit about you and specifically your amateur career. It's insane that you had as many fights as you did in such a short amount of time. You hit the Ammy scene in 2019, and you put up a record of 6-1. You did really well. How were you able to stay so active? Was that always part of your plan, to take the volume of fights that you did, or did it just work out that way?
Um, I knew I wanted to make it a career, but at my first fight, it was really just a trial run. I was like, if I struggle at all in this, or I don't do what I think I'm supposed to do in this fight, I need to evaluate and take and slow myself down. But after that, I think it lasted 15 seconds or so. I was like, okay, I'm gonna make this my job. This is gonna be I'm gonna live like this now. I changed everything around me to where I could train enough and fight enough to get where I need to go. So after that first fight, everything in my life changed pretty much. Because I was like, this is what I want to do for at least the next 10, 12 years or so. This is what I want to do. So basically, I adjusted literally everything around me at that point to set myself up to run off that many, to get that experience, basically.
Four Ammy fights in 2019. You didn't fight in 2020. I'm assuming that was because of the pandemic and just no fights were happening. That inactivity, I'm making the presumption it wasn't on choice. It was based on just the world we live in right now. And then you fought three times last year. 6-1. I mean, that's incredible. Somebody that is learning as they go and they are able to like knock off the caliber of guys that you're doing that you are knocking off. I think that's something to talk about. There's only one guy that bested you. Can you talk a little bit about what happened on that fight and how you've gotten better as a mixed martial artist since that only loss that you've ever had?
Just went out there and shit the bed, go out there nervous and not thinking about the right stuff. And one of my big things is a long guard, meaning I have to put my right here or right here, and your shoulder needs to be right here to protect your jaw. And instead of being right there, it's right there. And just wild overhand right came through, clipped my ass, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Little small mistakes like that will cost your ass in a fight. It's one mistake, you're done. So after that, it's just clean up your technique and do what you can to get better on that end. And that led to me taking two kickboxing fights. This is right before COVID happened. So this was
Mm-hmm.
February yeah, February 2020, and took those fights, won them. And it was just a big emphasis on just really basic striking technique. And that emphasis on basic stuff has continued, just basic defense, basic striking, just doing the same thing over and over and over again until its habit has continued. And that is the biggest takeaway that made me a better fighter. Just being really focused on being sound in what I'm doing and technical and smart about everything instead of just trying. You're not going to out athlete everybody. Somebody's going to clip your ass at some point.
Right.
In that moment, you have to be smart. And with those people, you have to be smarter. You're not going to last very long. So it just, there's that side of it. And it made me way more mean as a fighter, basically. It made me way more. You don't realize the reality of what fighting is. You think it's another sport like everything else until you get hurt. And then I think once that reality hits, I don't think a lot of people have that, even at the pro level. I don't think a lot of there's people just haven't gotten hurt like that, and you can't understand the drastic gap in what you're doing. Like, it's not a game. It's fun, but shit's not a game. You can die out here. So it's a push to reality of like how drastic the consequences and what I do are, and it's cliche as that is. It's like I'm going to kill you or you're going to kill me. It's there's not any room to be nice. There's not room to be out there dancing or joking around or anything. Like, it should be, for me anyway, I'm out there about business. I'm leaving.
Yeah, completely understand. And one of the questions I had, Derek, about taking a loss in MMA, you've lost your entire life probably growing up. You've probably lost countless football games, countless basketball games, but as cliche as it sounds, it's like, but we got another game next week. So it's like,
Exactly.
okay, cool. Like that's not to like say that losses are easier to take in football maybe or basketball. I'm not going to go that far, but the dynamic in fighting, you drop a fight, it's completely different because there's that unknown. You don't know how hurt you are. You don't know when you're going to be fighting again. And you're not going to get another chance, like at a bare minimum, if you
Or at
don't,
least a month.
if the state doesn't suspend you, you're not going to get another fight for at least 30 days, at least. So with all those unknown elements, like when you come off a loss, like does that stress you out a little bit more? Does that make the loss like more difficult to kind of get past? Whereas in football, it's like, yeah, it wasn't our night tonight, but we got another game next Saturday, and it's already written in stone.
The most difficult part of it is that how I said that the combat sports attract me because it's all me. At the same time, you lose. It's all you. Like
Right.
as you said, there's no mask, there's no team that you're associated with, there's no jersey number. It's you.
Right.
So you in your head immediately after the fight, you're like, oh, everybody's making fun of me. I let everybody down. This is all my fault. What did I do? Why am I doing this? But in the fight that I lost, me going through those emotions over that night, I also pulled myself out because I'm like, who the fuck? Like, this fight is in bumfuck Egypt, Kentucky.
Right.
The majority of the world does not know about this at all. This is literally, I'm not getting paid for this. Why am I beating myself up about? Like, literally, just take your lesson and move on with that stuff. And even as a pro, there's there's more important stuff in life than that. So it should hurt you because you
Mm-hmm.
put in effort on something and it didn't work out that way. I mean, that's part of life. But as you said with the football reference, like, you just get back up and go again. That time off only gives you more time to get better as a person and a fighter, and gives you time to reflect and look back at what you did wrong. And there's stuff where if you hadn't gotten beaten up or whatever else, you would have never probably fixed it. You would have never looked at stuff that certain way. All I've seen is losses in life, losses in MMA, losses in any sport can change you for the better. I lost, and that shit made me so much better as a person and a fighter. I probably would have been an asshole if I'd have won that fight. I would have thought my fucking balls were hanging to the ground and I was the best fighter in the world and I would have jumped and went pro immediately. Like, so that shit, honestly, it saved me from doing some dumb shit.
It tempered you.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people make stupid ass decisions because they thought their shit didn't stink. They go out there and get beat up and they're 0-2. Like, it's you can take good from anything. You can take good from anything, and those losses should make you better. You should learn from that stuff. You shouldn't. One of my biggest things is you don't. I'll get the shit down on me. I'll get knocked down. I'll get hurt. I'm gonna get back up. I'm gonna come back. It doesn't really like I'm gonna walk forward through that. So those losses should make you better. Basically, it's hard to handle being an individual sport, but you get back up and fight again.
You hit on something that's really important, though. You keyed on the point where people getting full of themselves and they find themselves 2 fights, 3 fights in the hole right when their career just got ready to begin. And I guess with anything in life, you make certain mistakes. It may, depending on the severity of the mistake, it may take you a little bit longer to dig out of. But you go 3 fights in the hole in mixed martial arts at a professional level, that changes the entire trajectory of your career. That's going to take you 2 years to like overcome.
Yeah, it's literally gonna set you back multiple years.
Right. Because now all of a sudden you have to shake off the label of being a can. You're going to be look like you are going to get probably the toughest fights if you're 0 and 3 because some really talented guy gets an L. They're going to look for a guy like you, or a complete unknown dude making his pro debut is going to fight you. Like, you're going to get these shit fights, and who knows what's going to happen?
You might get some killer, you might get somebody that's just shitty, but
You
it's
don't know.
not.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
unknown.
it's not a position you want to put yourself into, and your coaches and people around you should help you in that decision. Like you shouldn't rush yourself to take a step that you aren't ready for. So,
And
mm,
speaking of taking a step, can you talk to me a little bit about what clicked? What were those conversations like with your coach? Flash forward past the loss, you go on a win streak. You fought Dylan Budka and you beat him. And for people who may not be familiar, we'll talk. There's a reason why I brought this guy up. We'll talk about him here in a little bit again. You beat him once, you go on a streak. What made you decide that the timing was right to go professional?
there were fights where I needed to see if my cardio could last all 3 rounds. That happened 2 fights in a row with 2 decision wins. I needed to see how I was on the ground. I needed to see if I was comfortable against different types of people. So I went with grapplers, strikers, and wrestlers. And by the end of my amateur career, I got to the point where I was like, "Why am I doing this for free? I should be getting paid. This it's not particularly competitive anymore."
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest the biggest transition was me starting to train down in Nashville and having coaches around me that have fought professionally and people around me that fought professionally saying, "What, like, why are you amateur? You need to go pro." And talking to Sucker Punch, who's managed people for some one of the biggest management organizations in the world, literally, and having them be like, "You're ready to go pro. Let's go pro after this one." I know that I'm ignorant to a lot of details in this stuff, so I defer on that stuff to the wiser people around me. So when I
Yeah.
got that green light and felt that I had the experience, I just felt comfortable. I felt like I was moving more comfortable in everything I was doing in terms of training and fighting. That just made that jump and went from there.
You fought at B2 133 in Birmingham, Alabama. You made your pro debut on that card against a local fighter, Christian Eccles. And looking at that, that's like a tough place to like make your professional debut. Obviously, the outcome couldn't have been better for you. But leading up to that fight, here you are, a kid from Kentucky that's going to have to go all the way down to Alabama to fight this dude. He's a local guy, so obviously people aren't going for you; they're going for their boy. People don't want to see you win, and there's always some hesitancy sometimes when I talk to fighters that are going into that type of environment. They're like, "This shit can't go to decision. Like if it goes to decision, I'm screwed."
Yeah, that's why I
Because
did it.
like I'm gonna have to be very aggressive. I'm gonna have to go for a finish right away because if this goes to decision, I'm fucked. Was that your mindset going into the Eccles fight?
Yeah, I wanted to put it on myself to where I knew that if it went to decision, it might not go my way regardless of what the fight looked like. So I put myself in that situation intentionally. Like I got to go in to near his hometown and beat him up and finish him, or I'm not going to win.
And you did exactly that. It was a hell of a debut. And here we are. Here in a couple of weeks, you're going to be fighting the respawned version of Dylan Budka. He has respawned after you beat him in the pros, and you guys are running it back. Can you talk a little bit about did this fight materialize, and were you surprised that his side, his team, his coaches asked for this fight?
Um, yeah, he literally asked for me apparently. So and yeah, I think it's weird that his team, especially after only 1 year of experience, would even push that forward because how much could you really change? You know, there's a for him to go out of his way to ask for it means that that fight is burning him personally. So he's obviously been training and like trying to prep and keep it up with my stuff.
I have to
I'm
give
looking for
Dylan
fight.
respect and props because you bested him and he's asking for it again. And when you look at his body of work, the victory that you have against him and the way that you were able to beat him the first go around, I think that's a testament to how good you are because Dylan is very good. He's fought a lot of guys with very good records and he's dominated those fights. And then he fought you. And I felt like I don't know what the final scores were. They didn't read them off at the end of the fight. I had you up 30-27 all those rounds. That was me scoring the fight. I didn't think at any point in that fight did you sustain any damage whatsoever. I thought you were in complete control of that bout. And it was at 205 pounds. With this bout being scheduled for this upcoming bout in 2 weeks, it's happening at 185 pounds. Is this something that you wanted? Like, are you a middleweight now? Can you talk a little bit about like kind of your weight class and what the long term strategy is for that?
Wherever I am at that moment, I'll do 205 or 185, but just depends on where I am weight wise at that moment. I think there's more money to be you're seeing it more and more recently, especially at the upper weight class where people jump back and forth.
Sure.
Adesanya started to do it, and Kevin Holland's one that does it. There's a few people, Eric Andrews, who actually fought for Strike Hard, which was a B2 organization, does it a lot. So I think there's money to be made in being able to go back and forth.
It
I do
just
randomly. I get small sometimes, and then there's times I lift weights and I get big as hell accidents. And so it's just it's gonna be a thing of wherever I'm most comfortable at. Around that time, I happen to be a little bit lighter, so I was like, we're doing 185. Just and you asked for me, you're gonna fight wherever I want to anyway.
let's talk a little bit about that. So your boy Dylan here, um, good fighter. I have nothing. I like I said, I give him respect. I give him props. I think he's either very courageous or very crazy to want to make a pro debut fight against you. I am very surprised though that he agreed to take it at 85. He has fought as high as heavyweight. He has fought at light heavyweight. To the best of my knowledge, he's never fought at 85. Is there any concern on your end about his ability to make the weight?
Uh, I mean, if he asked for me, he should be able to make it. He should be able to make the weight, so it should be fine. I think that it means he's taking it more serious that he asked for it again. Like there's something in him that was disturbed or hurt by that last fight to the point where I know he's probably gonna make weight, hopefully. So I'm not really particularly worried about that now.
Do you Dylan doesn't really have with all due respect to Dylan if you're watching this, just keeping it real, I think it's safe to say he doesn't really have the best cardio. He looked very very tired against you. His mouth was open. Again, me just keeping it real, I thought the nut shot was a little sold. That was my opinion. I'm not speaking for you, Derek. That's just me watching the tape and seeing what I see. I thought he kind of sold it, and I thought he was able to benefit a little bit from getting a little bit of a break. Um, Thoughts on him at his cardio at 85? Do you think with him being lighter, that's going to further sap his cardio, or with a lighter, more nimble version of him, it could benefit him?
Yeah, I don't. Doesn't really matter. I can only worry about myself on that end. Like he's gonna get what he's gonna get. It's a I'm anticipating the best possible him, and whatever he presents out there is gonna get attacked like the best possible him. So it doesn't really matter. He can come out there morbidly out of shape, and I'm gonna fight him like he's John Jones. It doesn't really.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm not really into. I don't put any weight on anticipating what kind of shape. I'm prepping like I'm fighting DC or somebody.
Got it.
Like, I can't really make that many predictions on what kind of shape somebody's going to come in, especially if he's been plotting on this for a year.
And with you, you're the type of guy that I'm kind of jumping to a conclusion. I'm going to fight this fight on my terms. I know what I do well,
Yeah.
and the fight is going to be fought on my terms. Like, I will dictate where this fight goes. You have been able to do that in every single fight of yours that I've seen. I'm taking this under control of the octagon. I wasn't asking. I'm taking it. I'm making you take a step back. I'm going to walk you to the cage. I'm going to clinch you, and then I'm going to knee you as hard as I can. I'm gonna use my Muay Thai against you, and I'm going to fight this fight on my terms. I thought one of the things that was concerning is, at least for him, for Dylan being the smaller guy, he let you take center control of the octagon. Like, I don't recall seeing you back up once during that fight. You were exclusively the aggressor. Do you think that he's going to throw? Do you think his game plan is going to be a little bit different this second go around?
I don't know. That's for him to stress out because I know what I'm going to do.
No, no
He can
concern, none
no,
at
no,
all.
no. I mean, like, what's going to happen is going to happen. There's stuff I can predict, but like, I just don't see what he's look. I don't know what he'd be looking at really in terms of what he could do. But there's so many moving parts and all this stuff, and whatever he's going to do is whatever he's going to do. But I know exactly what I'm going to do.
Well, I can't wait for the fight to happen. It's here in a couple weeks. Are you selling tickets? How can people watch your fight?
There's a pay-per-view stream on Combat Sports Now, and then I believe I have the ticket link on my Instagram. It is at Overstreet. Ogre is in like how you Shrek. So OGRE and then Street on Instagram. And yeah, I think the pay-per-view stream is only $20, and the tickets are 30 or 35. If you get either one, put my name in there, and I'll get some money for it. So yeah, please slide up and do that shit.
I will go ahead and, of course, I'll also include those links to watch Derek's fight. And Derek, I wanted to give you the last word. If there was any sponsors or shout outs or anything like that that you'd like to do, I want to give you that opportunity.
All my management team was Sucker Punch. Brandon Alexander has been a good friend and great sponsor to me. The boxing gym, BGKY Boxing, everybody's taken off up there. So I've loved seeing the progress that everybody's made at the gym up here. All my teammates and coaches at Nashville MMA, I appreciate the hell of y'all because I wouldn't be doing shit otherwise. Kate Buenos, Little Fox Bakery, Coach Cam, who's a damn producer, is sponsoring now, which is cool as hell. Thrax THC over in West Virginia, they've been cool as hell. It's an amazing sponsor. They take really good care of me, and I appreciate the hell out of them. Bet City Vintage, and he's taken off to the point where he's doing some serious stuff in Bowling Green, helping people out too. So that's cool. Molotov Skate Shop in Portugal is actually in the band when he plays drums. So that's another favorite sponsor. Donna's where I work at, where I bartend and bounce at. They're great sponsor, all and just good people all around. I think that's it. If I left everybody out, I'm an asshole. Yeah, I apologize.
Well, Derek, you're an absolute legend, and I can't wait to watch your fight. I'm going to be watching it, and I can't wait to have you back on the show after you win.
I appreciate you having me.